Hey DV besties, if you've been looking for something to sell this Christmas or holiday season, look no further because in this video we're going to talk about 3 Christmas ornament projects you can make and sell that do really well during the holidays. We're going to use Design Bundle's resources to make our Christmas ornaments possible, and we're going to go through each one step by step. I'm even going to include some tips along the way for how to sell these and list them online. And stay tuned to the very end for a bonus tip on exactly how to use keywords and price these appropriately so they sell the most. Let's jump right into our first ornament today, which is probably our easiest ornament we're going to talk about, and it's these abstract painted clay look ornaments. I love this look. I think it's really trending this year, and you can find the clay blanks at your local craft store. I found mine at Hobby Lobby. They had a few different shapes, but you can see this one's really cute. It's kind of a teardrop shape, and it has that really nice matte ceramic feel, which I think makes it feel a little more high end. And all we're gonna do to it, because they already have a ribbon, which is really nice, is paint it. So I like this project because it doesn't require a cutting machine, but these do sell really well online. When I've seen these done the most successfully, people tend to do a gradient look. So I've got 3 shades of kind of pink and purple here, and then I'm gonna tie in a yellow for some contrast. And then my second option would be to do kind of a blue motif and do the same thing. 3 different hues of blue, and then I think the yellow also is a really good contrast color for this one, but I honestly think I'm gonna go with the pink because I'm nothing if not a pink girly at heart. So really all you need here is your ornament blank, your paints, and a couple paint brushes. I like to have kind of a blunt edge brush and then also have like a angular brush to give like a little bit of a difference in our stroke here, which will make a lot of sense in a second. And then we're gonna finish it off with a ribbon. You could either keep what comes with the ornament, or you can use yarn to create a separate kind of color on the top. So let me grab some water and then we're gonna jump right into painting this. Got my water jar, we are ready to go. I'm just gonna put a little bit of paint. Hopefully it's not dried up. I'm gonna put a little paint in my thing here. Maybe it has been a minute since I've used this primary red color here. I find that this primary red from Graduate Acrylics, it looks more pink to me. I'm excited to use it today. It should be all right once we mix it up with our paintbrush a little bit. Love this one's called Light Pink, and I love it. I think it's such a pretty pastel color. Okay friends, this is our first Christmas ornament done. I'm leaving my red ribbon on this because it matches the motif I went with, but feel free to cut yours off, swap it out. Yarn and ribbon work perfectly fine for this, and I would just recommend selecting a color that matches what you did. She's very cutesy, she's very demure, very mindful. So, first Christmas ornament, done. Okay, our second ornament is this really cute traditional ornament style, but we're gonna add a name to it. And we're also gonna add some really cute ribbon and accessories to really make it stand out. Our finished product is gonna look something like this. It's really cute, really trendy for this year. Perfect for the little girls in your life or a friend who may just want a very feminine Christmas tree. I think these are really fun. They're really popping off on the market right now and starting to gain momentum and get really popular. So let's jump right in. Let me tell you what you need for this project. First, you need your blank ornament. You're gonna want an opaque ornament style for this one. I got it at Hobby Lobby, but you can find them at any craft store. This particular one was $2.49, but as we all know, they are always half off. So this one was half off. No exception. You're also gonna need some ribbon. So try to find 2 kind of coordinating ribbon styles, maybe one thicker patterned and one thinner. I chose these 2 pink ones. I've got this little gingham guy and then this more fuchsia pink one. And then you're gonna want some disco balls. And I find that kind of the most cost-effective way to do this if you're not planning to make a ton of them is just to buy disco ball earrings. I found these again at Hobby Lobby, $2.99, but half off. That's what I'm using today. You're also gonna need some vinyl to personalize it. I chose this copper color. It is StarCraft HD. And then you'll need some transfer tape and general Cricut tools. So let's hop on over to the computer and get our design file ready, and then we're gonna start cutting our vinyl for this project. Okay, so let me show you where I found the font that we're gonna use for this project, because that is the design file we're gonna be using. If you didn't already know, you can get tons of fonts included with your Plus membership, in addition to all the SVG files and other great goodies and bonuses. So don't forget that fonts are a really good way to maximize your Plus membership, There are so many, and usually fonts are incredibly expensive, especially if you're gonna be selling what you make. I would really consider it because these come with a commercial license, which is really uncommon, and it just makes the value that much more. So what I did is I just went to my Plus products, and on the left-hand side, I selected script fonts. And I'm just looking for something that feels very Christmassy. This holiday Melodyne one, I absolutely love. I think it really stands out. I love all the little curly cues that you can add if you want to as special text effects. And so let's do that one. So we're gonna hop on over here and click download now. You can see when you do that, there's a ton of different font files. Really the two main font files you wanna be looking at when you're gonna be using it for a project would be a .otf or a .ttf. That's true type font and open type font. I like OTF, but honestly, for the purposes of what you're probably gonna be using the font for, those really make no difference. There are differences in them, and we can go over that in another video, but it's not relevant to most crafting projects. So what I typically do is just choose the main OTF font, but if you scroll through here, you can see you could also download the bold version, the slanted version, or italicized, and other kinds. There's even a fine version of this too, like a thin version, but we're just gonna do the regular. So I'm gonna click download now. And then to get a font into Cricut Design Space, you do need to click on it and add it to your font book. So that's for Mac. You'll want to add it to your font book, and once it's added there, you'll be able to access it in Cricut Design Space. So let's hop into Cricut Design Space and take a look at what that looks like. Okay, so here we are in Cricut Design Space. Let me show you how to access a font that you've imported. All I'm gonna do is select new text. We are gonna be doing it with my daughter's name on it this time, so I'm just gonna do Hallie, and then I'm putting the year underneath, which is 2024. We'll delete that one. I already have it selected, but if you didn't already have it selected, what you're gonna do is go to, you see you have these 4 options up here: Cricut, System, Bookmarked, and Recent. We're gonna select System, and then you're just gonna start searching for the name of the font. So in this case, it was called Holiday Melodyne. So when I search Holiday, it comes up. If I didn't search for any font name, you can see all the fonts that I have in my computer are gonna be coming up here. It's way too much to sift through, so do be sure to use that search bar to find exactly what you're looking for. And then we're just gonna select it. So here is how it looks with no adjustments. What I typically like to do is any separate line, I'm gonna create it as a separate text box, just so I can manipulate them individually and on their own. So I'm gonna put Hallie 2024. I kind of want 2024 to be smaller and maybe even down here to the side. I like that look, especially with the H, but I kind of want even more of a discrepancy between the two. Yeah, I like it like that. And we're really not concerned with adjusting our color here because this is gonna be all cut together and in one color anyway. But we do want to briefly step away from the computer and measure our ornament so we can get our size correct. So I'm just going to grab my ornament here. Looks like we've really got about 2.5 inches of good width to work with. And then in terms of height, I really wouldn't go any bigger than 1.5. So we want to set our entire design here to 2.5. That's gonna be kind of like our limiting measurement. And since this is all gonna be cut as one unit, I'm gonna go ahead and select the whole thing and select to weld it together. That way this now all is just one unit and we don't have to worry about that. I'm gonna change my width to 2.5. And I'm gonna make sure that my height stays under 1.5 like we discussed, and it does just barely, which is honestly really serendipitous. Okay, that's really all we need to do here. So we're gonna click Make It, and we're gonna go ahead and cut this on the permanent adhesive vinyl setting. And I'm gonna cut it on my Cricut Joy today. Actually, I'm just gonna go ahead and cut it on my Maker because that's what's already selected. So I'm gonna cut this on a mat. We don't need to mirror because we're using adhesive vinyl today. And I'm just gonna click Continue. Okay, so we're gonna need to cut our length of vinyl here. This is probably too much. It's actually definitely too much, but I really like it when I can even out the roll. So we're gonna do that anyway. And then we'll just cut off the excess there. So I'm just gonna go ahead and place this in the top left corner of my mat. This is a new mat, which is why it has all this residue here, because it's so sticky. And I'm just gonna gently smooth out any air bubbles. And then we're ready to load this into our Cricut. Okay, so we're just going to load it in. Press the flashing unload load button. While our Cricut cuts, we're gonna go ahead and do the ribbon portion of this. You can do this after if you like, but I like to be doing something while my Cricut is cutting. So we're gonna go ahead and attach these ribbons. So to do that, all right, so I'm just gonna cut as much as you want. There's not an exact measurement here, so just cut to your heart's content. And then you can kind of just start tying them through the little loop at the top. We're gonna trim it at the end, so don't be alarmed at how it looks right now. Okay, so we're just gonna continue tying our ribbon. I am just cutting strips that are long enough that I could tie them, but also not crazy. You can also hot glue these strips if you don't want to tie them, but since I'm just doing 2, I'm not really gonna create that much bulk by doing it this way. But if I was gonna be doing a lot of strips, I might consider hot gluing it so it's not so bulky. But also keep in mind, we are going to be hot gluing on the disco ball. So we do need something of a knot at the top where we're gonna attach our disco ball. We're still able to hold it for hanging. And also, since this is wired ribbon, I'm able to place it and make it have a little bit of character. So I'm kind of giving it a little bit of curl and bend so that it looks a little more preppy. And then I'm gonna trim it. But we're gonna wait until the very end to trim it because I find that oftentimes you don't really know how much you wanna use. So we've got our cute ribbon. I'm gonna go ahead and get my earrings out here and start disassembling them because we don't want them to be earrings. We want them to be charms today. Okay, and then all I'm going to do, in fact, because this has a little loop at the end of it, I don't even have to hot glue it today, which is nice. I'm just gonna thread it through. Okay, be sure to make sure your disco ball is secure, whether that means you're gonna tie a little slip knot, whether you're gonna add a little dot of hot glue. We just wanna make sure it doesn't fall off, but I am loving how this is looking. It's really, really cute and so festive. So I'm gonna set that off to the side because what we're gonna do now is trim our vinyl, weed our vinyl, and then attach it. Because this is pretty small, I'm gonna go ahead and weed it on the mat. You could reverse weed with this and you'd probably have good success, but I am nothing if not a rebel. So we're gonna try to do it without reverse weeding. And we're gonna see how these really thin cuts behave for us here. That was a lot of wasted vinyl. Don't come for me in the comments. All right, let's weed out those center pieces really fast. I just had a vision of myself breaking this ornament before it's done. Because I'm really being, we've picked up an entire 4. Okay. Let's slide that 4 back where it goes. If this ever happens to you and you lose it, look really closely at your backing because you can usually see the indentation where it's supposed to go. And then you're able to just, that's okay. For the purposes of this project and showing you, I'm just gonna let it slide, but if you were doing this for real or you were gonna sell this, I would go back and cut that eye again. While we're doing our weeding, let's talk about another tip for selling ornaments online. My second tip for selling ornaments online is to be really aware of keywords within your niche. So what I mean by that is to be a stalker and a researcher about what keywords are trending in the field of ornaments, especially right now and what's projected to be trending for this Christmas season, because having the appropriate keywords and really modeling your ornaments after whatever is trending is going to help you tremendously in standing out from the crowd in what is really a very saturated market. So what I mean by that is right now, disco balls and everything disco is trending. So something like this could be a really cute design for the Christmas season because it incorporates that very feminine, very like disco cowgirl type aesthetic that's really popular. So knowing that is not only going to help me model my product, but it's also going to help me know how to title it, how to give it an appropriate description and keywords and tags that are going to help it stand out, because I'm utilizing something that people are already searching for and that's already popular. So for instance, if I was to search for a disco cowgirl Christmas gift, I would want your disco cowgirl ornament to be the thing that shows up, and then that might be what I end up purchasing. But it's unlikely that someone's gonna be searching for your exact ornament. So you wanna capitalize on things that people are already searching for, like that. Okay, so we've weeded our design. We are now going to use transfer tape. I'm just using my finger, but if you have a credit card or a squeegee or something, you could definitely use that here to kind of help you. And then I'm literally flipping my whole mat over, and I'm gonna peel away the whole thing first actually, because I haven't done that yet. Now I'm gonna flip over my little backing here and start peeling my backing away from my vinyl and not the other way around. That really just prevents things from peeling up and gives you a much more even pull. And now that I've done that, we are ready to apply our vinyl to our ornament. Be really careful when you're doing this because once it's on, it's on. So I like to kind of lay my ornament flat. If you have like a tumbler cradle, that's something that could really help you here. So I'm gonna place it in my tumbler cradle here. My little disco ball is threatening to fall off because I haven't glued it down or done a slip knot or anything yet. And I'm just gonna set it here. And then I'm going to line up where I want it. And just gently wrap the design. Now, whenever you're doing a circular design, it can be really tempting to just stick it all on there really fast, but that's how you can end up with bubbles and bumps and creases. So I try to lay it flat horizontally first, and then I'm just very gently gonna come in and encourage those individual letters down as we move up and down the ornament. That's gonna help you not end up with huge bumps, creases, etc. And you can really get a more manual process here. And really make sure you're pressing it all down, making sure everything adheres really well. Now that I've focused on the name, I'm then gonna go in and get my numbers to lay down. Again, focusing on each number one at a time to prevent creases. Some people I've seen like to cut little slits in their transfer tape to allow it to kind of bend, and you can manipulate it more that way. I've honestly found that doing that and doing it this way does about the same thing, because once you stick it on there, it's on there, and then you don't really have to worry as much. That is cute. That is cute, my friends. That is cute. All right. Let's just trim our ribbon, and then this one is done. So I'm also just gonna kind of twist it around here. This is where I'm about to tie a little knot so we can make sure that our disco ball isn't going anywhere. I'm so bad at tying knots. That's about to be really clear. Okay, well that worked out just fine. Ooh, okay. I love this. I'm also going to twirl this pink ribbon around my finger so we can have a good little curl here. It's like falling all over the place. Should have kept my little cup thing. Womp, womp, womp. Okay, it kind of looks crimped. I think that's fun. All right, let's cut her short. Cut this one a little bit. this one a little bit and cut that one. And this is where if you wanted to add more ribbon, you totally could. If you wanted to add more dimension, you totally could. Add another disco ball, make it your own, do what you want. But there you have it, Disco Cowgirl. Disco Cowgirl ornament for 2024. Let's talk about our third ornament and perhaps my favorite ornament that is trending this holiday season, and that is hand-embroidered hoop ornaments. These are so fun and honestly, really simple to execute if you can just learn one simple embroidery stitch that I'm gonna show you today. And I'm gonna show you a couple different ways you could execute this and a couple different ways you could do it. The first thing you need to do though is just cut your fabric. So I'm going to cut this piece of fabric here into a really rough square. Really not stressed about it looking perfect. We're gonna cut a lot of it off. But if you have like fabric scissors or even a way to cut this more clean, feel free to, but I'm just kind of loosely cutting mine because a lot of this is gonna get trimmed away in the end anyway. We just want a square that's bigger than our hoop so that nothing gets, so that our hoop can snag onto it. And once you kind of have this rough square, we're gonna attach it to our hoop here. I'm gonna go ahead and show you up here. This is kind of what to expect as your end result for this. I think these are very fun. And I love, love, love the end result. So as you can see, I'm just shoving my inner hoop in there and I'm gonna tighten this up. Once you've cut your square and you've attached it to your hoop, we're now going to write our saying on here. You could do merry and bright, you could do someone's name, you could do any other Christmas saying you want. This is going to be typography based. We're not gonna worry about embroidering pictures today. We're just doing words. It's a lot easier and I love how the end result turns out. I've seen people do the tracing before they put it in the hoop. It's totally fine if you prefer that. I've seen people freehand it. If you feel confident in your freehanding, go for it. I think that's what we're gonna try to do today. But then also something that I did previously for this ornament style, I will show you, is I took my son's artwork from school, he is 5, and I traced his actual handwriting onto my ornament and created this really cute design where it's actually his handwriting embroidered onto this ornament. I'm gonna add the year later on, but I love how this looks. It makes such a good keepsake ornament, and it's special because it's his actual handwriting this year. So you could do these a lot of different ways. And if you're really good at embroidering, honestly, you could add pictures. You could add Christmas trees, you can add whatever you want. So I've got my needles here and I've got my embroidery floss. I would go ahead and thread your embroidery floss through, get yourself like a decent amount, and remember to tie a knot at one end because we're going to need it to be stuck. So if you've never done embroidery before, we want to feed our floss all the way through, however much you want, and then make sure you have kind of a little tail here that's about however long that is. And then at the end of our long end, we're just gonna tie a tiny little knot. And that's gonna help us because when we do our first little poke, we're gonna pull it all the way through, and the knot is gonna make sure it doesn't just fall all the way through our fabric. It's gonna give us like an anchor point. So I'm gonna make my little knot there. It's little but mighty. And then I'm gonna go ahead and set this off to the side and do my tracing. For what we're doing today, you really don't need a whole ton of floss, but you can always start a new strand if you need to, so don't worry about having too little or too much, because if you need to start fresh, you totally can. Okay, I'm just gonna put merry and bright on mine today, and I'm just freehanding it, so I'm not doing anything special. Remember that you can trace if you want a more exact look. And also feel free to use different colors of fabric, different colors of thread. Those are really ways you can kind of spice these up and make them fit your Christmas tree theme, or just have a different variety if you're planning to sell these, which is really nice. If you get good at embroidery, you can also add wreaths, Christmas trees, different elements that make it super fun. So we've got merry. So I'm just kind of going over it here. This is all gonna get covered up when we start doing our embroidery, so not too worried about it. And then later I might come back and add little ornament lights around it or something like that. We'll see. Okay, merry and bright. So we've written it. We are ready to start our first stitch. And you can add like little stars or whatever you want around it. But today we're just gonna do the bare minimum so that you can kind of see how this would work. And I think these are really fun. They're a little more time consuming, but I love doing these just like while I'm watching TV or hanging out with my family. I think it's honestly kind of therapeutic. So you're gonna start your first stitch. You've already tied your knot. You're going to start in the top left corner and you're just gonna come from behind and bring your string all the way through. So you can see that knot catches for us, which is wonderful. That's what we want. And then we're gonna go just a little bit forward. I know that my needle holding technique leaves much to be desired, so don't come at me. And we're just gonna pull all the way through. And then we're gonna repeat from the back, coming up, getting our next little section here. And you can see like we're gonna need to actually move backwards to fill in that space. I'll show you a little bit closer on our next pass here. So basically what you wanna try to do here is move ahead of your spot just a little bit. Pull all the way through. And then, okay. And then you want to come back and meet yourself where you had your initial stitch ending. So I'm gonna come back. This is kind of a hard piece because we've got a little bit of a curve right here. So I'm trying to be really mindful of where I put this stitch, but you'll see a lot better kind of on the next one. So we're gonna pull it through, make that connection, and then I'm just gonna follow down my line a little bit to the end of it, pulling all the way through, and then again, coming back to meet my initial stitch. This is called a back stitch. So this is a really easy stitching style. And like I said, these take a little more time, but that also means that you're going to be able to price them better. So that's actually my third tip for us to talk about as we're making ornaments today. And that is, don't forget to price in your time. So when you're pricing ornaments or when you're pricing anything that you make crafty wise, it can be really easy to fall into the trap of just thinking about how much did the supplies cost for me to make this and then pricing accordingly. But the reality is when we do it that way and we don't account for our time, we really can cause ourselves a huge headache because take this for instance, where the actual materials to make this project are really inexpensive. I mean, embroidery floss is nothing. It's so cheap. And the fabric I'm using today, it's so cheap and it's gonna go a long way. The embroidery hoops I purchased in bulk. So it's really not gonna be that expensive for me to make this craft, but I'm gonna spend a good amount of time embroidering this, and especially if I go back and I add personalization or the year or extra decorations, those kinds of things really start to take a lot of time. And if we don't price that way to include our time, it's gonna quickly become not worth it for us to do things like this. So really make sure you're pricing in your time, you're making it worth your while. But if you love doing things like this, like I do, I think it's really a rewarding project and people love that it's kind of like heirloom quality, but on their Christmas tree, which is fun. These are little 3-inch embroidery hoops, by the way, and I find that these are kind of like the perfect size for something like this because it's big enough that you can see it on your tree, but small enough that it's not gonna be an eternity to do. So as you can see, we've made it to the R. I'm going to finish this up and then we're gonna come back in and I'm gonna give you a few more tips about doing these embroidered ornaments. Okay, so I got a little carried away doing my little merry and bright. I wanna show you how to finish off your stitching though. Make sure you can see what I'm doing. So I'm coming in on my last like little pass here. And I'm just gonna connect it just like we've been doing this whole time. So once I pull through my last stitch, I'm going to pull my needle out. You don't need that anymore. Flip it over. You can see my back is like a little bit messy, but it doesn't matter. You're gonna cover that part up. And then you're just going to tie a little knot in your string there. So I am terrible at knots. We've established this today, but I'm just gonna do my best here. Gonna pull a little knot through and just slip it down as close as I can to my embroidery hoop, and then just snip right above my knot. So now we have a nice clean look here, merry and bright. I love it, it's so adorable. If I do this project again in the future, I'll probably make sure to trace it. I've seen a lot of people do the freehand look, so I thought I would try it today, but I think I've established with myself that I don't have the best handwriting, and I think tracing it would give a much better result. You can also see from mine that in certain areas, it's looking really tight. It's looking really close together. It kind of gets muddy and hard to read. So just a reminder, learn from me, and when you do this, make sure that you create as sweeping of letters as you can, so they're not all crunched in together, which can kind of make your end product look a little bit muddy. The way you would finish this off is you would just trim. We'll go ahead and do that part. You would just trim around as close as you can to the actual hoop. Really not worrying too much about it like popping out, because you're gonna hot glue it here in just a minute. So trim off all the excess until you just have your little hoop there. And then once you have your hoop, you can just hot glue any rough edges down. And then what I did with this one is I added a little felt backing that I hot glued on as well. And then you can adorn with ribbons or whatever else you like to really finish off your Christmas ornament. Again, play with different stitches if you want to get fancy, play with different phrases, names, personalizations, play with different fabric colors and thread colors. You can really do a lot with these and create a really versatile set of ornaments. It's really fun. Okay friends, that was 3 Christmas ornament designs to make and sell this Christmas season 2024. And be sure to come back next week. We're doing part 2 and creating 3 more Christmas ornament designs you can make and sell this Christmas. So until then, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. We will see you next time. Happy crafting.